Bonsoir, mes amis. Welcome back to Monaco. Last time, the redhead gave us one look back at her sentimental moments. This time, it's time to escape from Monaco. Two things immediately come to mind for this level. One of them is that it's really hard. I don't know if it's because I'm trying to play it as the mole, which is definitely a possibility, or maybe it's the layout of the level itself, but I had some difficulty with this one. Something else that's neat to notice is that on this level, all of the thieves actually spawn in different locations, paired up with their counterparts. The mole and the locksmith both spawn in the same area. The lookout and the redhead both spawn in the bottom left. The hacker and the cleaner, I believe, spawn in the bottom right. And the gentleman and the pickpocket spawn in the upper left. This would definitely give some credence to the theory that maybe there have only been 4 thieves this entire time. But any way you look at it, this level definitely has some difficulty to it. And I think a big part of that is because of the mole. You'd think, having a level designed around the mole, well, all you'd have to do is dig through everything, right? That's how the mole works. It's crime time. Unfortunately, his abilities do not exactly endear himself to levels that have a lot of security or a lot of guards. You would think it might be easy enough to just dig through the security and find a way around it, but by and large I haven't found that to be the case. By the same token, anywhere you're surrounded with a lot of guards, well, the mole doesn't really have an effective escape method. What are you gonna do? Panic dig? All you're gonna do is dig a straight line and then you'll have a nice hole to die in. At the same time, any hole the mole digs, well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. There's really nowhere he can go that a guard can't follow. But luckily, as always, some tactical item usage is going to save the day for us.
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
This area directly to the right is actually one area where the mole can very easily dig in. You don't have to worry about getting spotted by anybody unless they walk up behind you while you're opening the safe, and once you do, you can break the pedestal it's on top of, and then just kind of sneak in and out. You'd think for a level built around the mole, they would have more opportunities like that, but, well, it doesn't happen. At least not that I've seen it. It could be a failure on my part. The biggest trouble I always have on this level, in terms of getting stuff and getting out is always up here in the ticket booth area. There's a laser watching the ATM. You know, all the civilians out in the crowd I'm not so worried about. But that laser watching the ATM will very easily catch the attention of both the melee guards in there, and if you don't have a way of distracting them, well, you're gonna get a couple dents in your cranium. Also, there's the problem of actually, you know, getting the virus down there in time. Where I play in the lookout, which I usually do, I can just hop in, I can grab the computer, hop in events quickly, and I can be around there in no time at all. You know, there is an opportunity here that I didn't fully take advantage of that I will be showing off shortly. What I'm trying to do here is to get the virus to, you know, help me out by turning off some of the lights, but it's just not meant to be. At least not until after I want it to help me. Turning off the lights is one of those things that happens in this game, but you don't really appreciate it as sort of an active thing that happens. Turning off the lights does have an effect on guards' line of vision. Much as I mentioned, oh, it's been a while. But essentially what sneaking does is it reduces the range at which guards can see you. Sneaking in front of a guard as compared to running in front of a guard will drastically change your sight profile. And the extra path I was mentioning up here, you can just dig through the wall at the top where the medkit is. That's really all there is to it. Easy enough. But as I mentioned, turning off the lights has the same effect as sneaking. It reduces the range at which guards can see you. It's not something that I fully appreciate most of the time. But in the event you want to be a super master of stealth, well, it'll work out in your favor to exploit that. This particular level, this floor, is the one where most of the problems arise. Because this is the one where the majority of the security is. So, Inspector Voltaire and Constable Candide seem to be hot on the trail of our thieves, but, you know, Constable Candide brings up a point. The only person who's effectively gotten the confessions out of the criminals seems to have been Inspector Voltaire. On the way out of the on the way to the police station, presumably the gentleman and his crew, whoever they may truly be, stole the footage of the interrogations, so Inspector Voltaire is the only one who knows anything about it. So, the fact that Inspector Voltaire miraculously seems to know where the thieves are going at any given time, well, that's a little bit shifty to me. Obviously, if we can count on Inspector Voltaire as a reliable narrator, then, you know, everything pans out, everything makes sense. It's just a coincidence that the thieves happen to take the footage, and there's nothing below ground here. They stole the footage, the four thieves stole the footage of themselves, which, who knows? If there were particular characteristics of each criminal at the crime scene, maybe the locksmith would happen to also leave identity traits associated with the mole. Then perhaps it makes more sense for them to have taken the crime scene evidence. After all, the video essentially proves that the locksmith, the pickpocket, the cleaner, and the lookout were in prison, at the time that the prison break happened. But what if, on video, was captured those four thieves using some of the characteristics of the others? You know, the locksmith happens to carry around Freedom Spoon, kind of a dead giveaway. The lookout using some of her feminine wiles to charm the pants off of some guards. The hacker, or the cleaner, depending on how you look at it, either using a little stashed away bottle of chemicals, or, you know, just plugging something mysterious into an electrical outlet. And perhaps the gentleman, or the pickpocket, could, you know, just happen to set up their, well, I guess the monkey's a dead giveaway. So I think we can definitely say that the pickpocket was in jail. But what if they noticed, suddenly the man with the monkey got insanely suave? They're all just possibilities, mind you. But it would explain why the four thieves felt the need to take the footage with them.
Quelqu'un? Je crois que c'est bon.
One of the videos I put up last time had a interesting twist to it. We saw that Seth was actually present in the enhanced Locksmith's version of Prison Break, and one of the little nuggets of wisdom he imparted to us was, I don't think that Voltaire cop is who he says he is. Well, let's consider the obvious. Who is Inspector Voltaire, then? Well, really, who could he be? We could go for the honest answer. He really could be, you know, a inspector from Interpol. But let's consider some other possibilities. You know, just a spitball. What about the possibility that Inspector Voltaire is the gentleman? It doesn't seem likely, mind you. If you consider that Inspector Voltaire has to be an Interpol constable, because obviously one, in theory, doesn't just raise to that position without having some sort of background credentials. So Inspector Voltaire has to be a person who exists. But keep in mind, the gentleman is a master of disguise. This doesn't mean that the persona of Inspector Voltaire has been completely fabricated. It could simply mean that Inspector Voltaire as a person is being impersonated. I get a little unlucky with this virus here, but it's bound to happen, I suppose. Sometimes you just have to set off an alarm.
Oh, ce n'est rien.
So consider the possibility that Inspector Voltaire is the gentleman in disguise. Just a possibility. Inspector Voltaire is a real person, but what reason does an Interpol inspector have for being in this police station in Monaco? Sure, there's possibly legitimate reasons, but I can think of quite a few maybe not so legitimate reasons as well. That being said, you have to consider, what is the real relationship between the pickpocket and the gentleman, then? It could be, obviously, the pickpocket and the gentleman are the same person. But what if they're not? What if the gentleman is portraying himself as Inspector Voltaire to get a feel for where the thieves are, where they're going to be? What if, as I mentioned earlier, the gentleman is possibly looking to rub out some rival criminals? What if the pickpocket's telling the truth? The gentleman whispered a secret place to him to go to, And the only way possibly the inspectors of police will know where the gentleman truly is to let the pickpocket go. After all, if he is the rat in the gentleman's crew,
ils ont des gardes.
well, more than likely he'd lead them right to where they want to be. But then, of course, if Inspector Voltaire is the gentleman, that kind of plays right into the gentleman's hands, doesn't it? I play a little risky here because I don't want to use too many of my item uses. By letting the cops shoot at me, I know I've got enough health to tank it, and it actually pays off for me. I knew this medkit was still going to be here, and it's pretty close by to where I'm going to be exiting. All I have to hope is that I don't run into any guards on the way there, and I'm set to go. Not using that extra item is going to be very handy for later. The biggest problem here on the underground subway, well, two big problems. One is the prize display is absolutely packed with security. Come to think of it, probably the best thing you could do to knock out security in the prize display is to get one laser and sit there in the upper right. Where I dug that hole, and this is all introspection, mind you, where I dug that hole, you can very easily sit there with your virus and it'll just knock out that area for you. In theory, the virus won't feel the need to go on any other nodes, and you can sit there and unlock the safe at your leisure. The downside to this line of thinking is that, well, those alarm boxes are awfully wide. More than likely having to, more than likely having to move around the alarm boxes will cause you to step into the diagonal laser. The second problem with the underground subway is that there are a lot of guards. This is where the mole's lack of abilities to mitigate a guard's attention definitely come back to bite me in the ass. I don't have a problem getting around some of them, but it begins to feel like a bad game of Pac-Man.
Oh, et puis, tant pis.
Quoi? J'étais sûr d'avoir entendu un mot. Qui va là? Je pense que ça devrait être.
All the patrolling guards can be particularly difficult if you find yourself getting stuck at parts of the railway because they will just keep patrolling. They have pretty much free reign of the area, and there's a decent amount of guards on both sides. Oh yeah, there's an entire another railway we have to steal stuff from, so we're about halfway done with this entire floor. Down here is actually a pretty interesting addition. These floor panels turn on and off. I don't believe that was in the base game. It's a neat little obstacle that I kind of wish got used more often.
Comment?
But since a majority of Monaco Fin was done to implement a lot of these new assets they made for the Origins missions, well, I'll take what I can get. Of course, the downside of digging all these holes into the prize display is that now guards that would normally not go in there have, well, they have areas that they're not designed. In the map editor, you can set exclusion zones for guards, somewhere they normally won't path into. I've effectively broken around their exclusion zones because I've broken holes in the walls. just an interesting way of how the Monaco AI works. Because those exclusion zones no longer apply to them at the handprint doors, well, now they can patrol through those open wall holes and be where normally they shouldn't be.
Pourtant, j'étais sûr d'avoir entendu que... Ouais.
And of course, with a little bit of quick thinking, I don't have to worry about guards in my way. Even if I am just contributing to the problem. Something that's kind of neat for this level as far as escape paths go is you can actually use the trains on the left or the right side of the station. And interestingly enough, some of them are blocked off. The only way to access the top left car or the bottom right car are to dig through the walls with the mole. I'm not sure if that's a bug or a feature, but well, it's interesting if nothing else. Not particularly useful, but interesting. At this point, I've put off the inevitable for long enough, and the only gold I have to get left is the amount sitting in front of the cop in the top right, and the safe and the one piece of gold in the prize display. So, oh well.
Oh, qui va là? Ils sont partis.
I have 3 smoke bombs, and at least 10 seconds needed. Let's see how much trouble I can cause.
Je vais te...
Je crois qu'ils ont tué. Il y a rien. Retour à la normale.
Arrête.
Ouais, ils ont des guerres.
Tant pis,
Oh, je crois que c'est bon, il n'y a rien.
And I just barely survived that. It took me 4 smoke bombs, along with the one I got from picking up 10 coins from the safe. I set off 3 alarms, and attracted what looks like about 6 or 7 different guards. So now, all I have to do, being at a quarter health, is make my way to one of the escapes. I say as I immediately run into almost every guard on my way to the health pack, so I don't die, hopefully. I swear to God, these guys are Pac-Man ghosts. But, luckily enough, we're out of here.
Qui va là?
Please join me next time when we step foot into the lion's den.